Hi, it's me again, Aki from Bringforth. I'd like to discuss, this is set 17 part 2. I'd like to discuss some of the alien things again, and in this particular update I'd like to discuss the hidden history of Earth. It's a story or an understanding of a story that is much older than our current story of history. Officially, our oral histories became translatable into written histories between 5 and 25,000 years ago. Before that, the oral history of the Earth is considered unreliable. It's considered mythological or a lore that doesn't really affect reality. It's considered a non-real thing. So that comes into violent conflict with a lot of these primitive cultures like the Aborigines, which have a oral history that describes things that they had no contact with on their own region, like the great mammals. They had a history these Aborigines, where they discuss some of these animals that existed far before the last ice age, which is 25 to 40,000 years ago. So their oral history very accurately describes life on this planet before the last ice age. So there is a human civilization that has existed based on what we know from things like this oral history study and study of what trade routes people had, that modern humanity had, in the sense that we are able to travel to the other end of the continent by boats and trade with it. The modern history in reality seems to agree that this is about 300,000 years old, not 25,000 years old. So this kind of agrees with the common interpretation of history in the view that these more advanced alien groups occasionally come around and remove our history or make us discuss history in their terms and then lose our true history and perhaps abilities. So these other groups that are hostile to humanity developing a common identity are, in the view of the primitive cultures, most likely these kind of reptilian looking humans and these several other groups that we know, like the Greys. So these groups are around for at least 300,000 years, or seem to be around for at least 300,000 years, because the oral histories of humanity are around for 300,000 years. Or it's possible that they've come around later and managed to remove a mention of oral histories afterwards. Either way, current historical research trends sidestep these oral histories as unreliable because it comes into conflict with their view of history. They view that history is beginning at the Middle East in around 5,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, when the first cities were formed. But this is completely arbitrary and perhaps even, I would say, racist towards the oral histories of the Earth that are around for much longer than that. So if these alien groups really do visit the Earth and really do try to mock up our history, then there must be a positive force of equal mass due to the law of one, where they are trying to get us to understand our true long-term history, which should be about these oral histories and the time before the last ice age. So I don't really know which of these is correct. I don't have the access to the laboratory and all of the oral histories of the world to do a comparative study to see what kind of trends we find in these histories and what of these are sufficiently scientifically provable to see that they're actually true. But to me personally, it seems that we are in the midst of an alien colonization campaign, and our answer must be to seek help from aliens, otherwise we will be overtaken by aliens we don't understand. So I don't know how prevalent these alien groups are in modern politics, but based on observation I would say that they exist, that they are out there influencing the actions of humanity and trying to make humanity what they want us to be. So you have to ask yourself what your religious or philosophical or secular leaders' viewpoint is in these ancient civilizations, because that'll probably be the defining attribute. If they are arrogant towards the concept of humanity existing before the Ice Age as an advanced civilization, and I don't mean current day level, I mean ability to build houses and fire. If they are arrogant towards that, then you know they are most likely arrogant towards you trying to understand yourself. The most relevant finding I have come across is wood. I believe it was wood that doesn't grow in the region being found in the region that is carbon dated to be 300,000 years old, and most likely coming from the other side of the continental landmass. I believe it was European type fossilized wood found in South Africa and to be dated 300,000 years old, I do believe. This would mean that we are a civilization that has perhaps reached this level of existence dozens of times over, and being knocked back by our willingness to associate with evil, or our willingness to give up, or a willingness to not fight. I don't know what the proper wording is, but it seems that we are in the midst of a colonization attempt, and it is like any other predatory species above us. It is hard for us to conceptualize why they would do so and how they would do so. So from our point of view, if we want to escape this, we need to be able to find alien allies, because we don't have the means to fight them ourselves. And from that point of view, it seems that the attempt to marginalize and perhaps even discriminate against groups who think they are aliens, such as these large-head natives and some of these other groups, is coinciding with the desire to keep humanity primitive. So my point of view is that you should ask in public calmly for aliens without alignment, because you don't know your own alignment. You don't know if you are good or bad. But publicly and calmly ask for aliens to come closer to you and to make an effort to become closer to you. And through that you will gain an understanding of what you're actually seeing, because it's like a farm animal escaping to another farm and licking the other farmer and trying to get themselves sent to a different farm instead of trying to escape into the woods. It will have a much larger chance of success than living in the forest as a manufactured cow if you just go to a better farm, because not all farmers are as evil as the farmer that we happen to have. So that being said, I do believe that abilities like telepathy are easily findable with tools. You can clearly distinguish telepathic murmurs when you watch these things like the Norse map, and you can see that where normal people see a attack map, you see a conversation between the various political groups and world leaders, and this should be your key to understanding what we talk about as humanity being older and having more abilities than is commonly accepted. So I will link Norse map to the video here, and it will perhaps help you understand what I mean by aliens. To me, Norse Map is clearly the alien entertainment module from XCOM. It is bright as day. It is easy to distinguish as day. So perhaps we will find some interesting discussions, and somebody who has the scientific ability to do these studies will finally say something that will become world knowledge. So unless we find alien allies, we will be overrun by aliens. That is my opinion. So perhaps becoming more open and accepting as a society slowly, and getting to be allied with the groups that come into our country slowly, will increase our understanding of the world until we see these groups in the daylight, and then we can do what we would want to do with them in the daylight. So that is about it, and I hope that the alien groups actually following this, because I believe some of these will be watched by aliens, because farm animals are observed by their farmers to see what they are acting like. I do believe some of these alien groups will watch this, and I do hope that they remember that I have said for them to come slightly closer so we can understand each other better, even though it is scary, because my alignment, even as much as I may think I'm a good person, is most likely wrong. I am most likely a bad person. So for them to contact me, they can't send somebody good. They have to send somebody who I can understand, and that will be sending somebody bad. So for that to happen in a way that I can actually conceptually understand, I have to talk to the world community and the alien community at the same time and compare results. So I hope we will be getting more information about these groups, and that this research will progress as it should progress, instead of being caught in the muck. That being said, I would, given a 50-50 for $1 million, in that I have to be right and there's some way to verify this, I would believe I have already been contacted by aliens. But there is nothing I can do to prove this, because I don't, like I said, have the laboratory and the scientific experiment availability to actually test and verify this. It's interesting though, nonetheless, if humanity actually is going through this cycle of destruction at a periodic rate because we are being farmed. It is an interesting topic. That is all.